Lessons from Georgia's complicated beginnings. Conclusion: why Georgia's founding still matters. Introduction: the enduring echoes of a grand experiment. The founding of Georgia is not merely a regional curiosity or a footnote in the annals of American history. Rather, it is a living case study in the ambitions, contradictions, and legacies that have shaped the United States from its earliest days. Conceived in 1732 as a philanthropic and strategic outpost, a buffer colony, with a utopian heart, Georgia's story is one of high ideals colliding with harsh realities. Its journey from a social experiment to a plantation society mirrors the broader American struggle to balance idealism and pragmatism, philanthropy and empire, liberty and bondage, and the ever-present threat of Spanish and Native American attack. The limitations of this utopian plan became painfully clear. Primary source excerpt from a letter by a Savannah settler, 1735. "We are much afflicted with sickness, and the land is not so fruitful as was promised. Many of our number have perished, and those that remain are in want of labor and supplies." Lesson: idealism is a powerful force, but it must be tempered by an honest reckoning with environmental, economic, and human realities. The trustees' vision, though noble, was ultimately unsustainable in the face of the New World's challenges. The power of economic imperatives. The trustees' bans on slavery and large landholdings were intended to foster an egalitarian society. However, settlers, especially those with experience in neighboring South Carolina, argued that without enslaved labor and the ability to accumulate land, Georgia could not compete economically. The eventual lifting of these bans in the 1750s marked a dramatic shift, transforming Georgia into a plantation society and aligning it with the broader Southern economy. Mini-essay: The Utopian Vision versus Colonial Realities. The trustees' Georgia experiment was a direct challenge to the plantation model. Yet, the lure of cash crops and the labor demands of rice and indigo cultivation proved irresistible. Economic necessity, more than ideology, drove the colony's transformation, a pattern seen throughout colonial America. C. The inevitability of conflict and adaptation. Georgia's location on the imperial frontier meant that conflict, both with European rivals and with Native American nations, was a constant. The colony's survival depended on diplomacy, military preparedness, and the ability to adapt to shifting alliances and threats. Biographical spotlight: Tomochichi. Tomochichi, the Miko, chief of the Yamakra, played a pivotal role in the colony's early years. His willingness to negotiate with Oglethorpe and his journey to England as an ambassador for his people exemplify the complex, often fragile nature of Anglo-Indian diplomacy. D. The enduring impact of diversity. From its inception, Georgia was a mosaic of cultures: English, Scots, Salzburgers, Jews, and others. This diversity brought both friction and resilience, as settlers drew on a wide range of skills and traditions to survive and build community. Biographical spotlight: Mary Musgrove. Mary Musgrove, born to a Creek mother and English father, was the indispensable interpreter and cultural broker between Oglethorpe and the Creek. Her story highlights the essential, if often overlooked, role of women and people of mixed heritage in colonial encounters too. The balance of idealism and pragmatism in colonial history. A. Oglethorpe, the idealist and the pragmatist. James Oglethorpe embodied the tension between high-minded reform and practical leadership. A champion of the poor and a critic of slavery, he was also a military strategist and a shrewd negotiator. His ability to adapt, whether in forging alliances with Native Americans or responding to settler grievances, was crucial to the colony's survival. Primary source excerpt from Oglethorpe's letter to the trustees, 1734. "We must be ever vigilant, for the Spaniards to the south and the French to the west do not sleep. Our alliances with the Creek are our best defense, but we must also attend to the needs and complaints of our own people." B. The trustees' shifting stance. Initially steadfast in their ideals, the trustees gradually yielded to settler demands. The lifting of the slavery ban and land restrictions were not ideological conversions, but pragmatic concessions to the realities of colonial life and economic competition. C. The settlers' pragmatic demands. Settlers, too, were driven by a mix of hope and hard-nosed pragmatism. Their petitions for enslaved labor and larger landholdings were rooted in the desire to survive and prosper, not necessarily in a rejection of the trustees' ideals. Primary source excerpt. From a petition by the malcontents. 1738. We, the undersigned, humbly represent that the present restrictions on Negro labor and the size of land grants do greatly hinder our progress and prosperity. Our neighbors in Carolina thrive by these means, whilst we, though industrious, struggle to cultivate our lands and compete in the markets. The third, Reflections on Philanthropy, Empire, and the Making of America A. Philanthropy as a tool of empire. Georgia's founding was both a philanthropic project and a strategic maneuver. The colony served as a buffer against Spanish Florida and French Louisiana, protecting the wealth of South Carolina and advancing British imperial interests. The trustees' social experiment, while sincere, was inseparable from the geopolitical calculations of empire. B. The contradictions of liberty. E. Georgia's rapid transition from a slavery-free colony to a slave society underscores the contradictions at the heart of the American experiment. The ideals of liberty and equality coexisted uneasily with the realities of bondage and exploitation, a tension that would shape the South and the nation for generations. Mini-essay, The Impact on Enslaved Africans. The legalization of slavery in 1751 marked a turning point. The enslaved population grew rapidly, and the wealth of the colony became increasingly dependent on their labor. The voices and experiences of these men, women, and children, often silenced in the historical record, are essential to understanding Georgia's true legacy. C. The enduring struggle for justice. The experiences of Native Americans, enslaved Africans, and even the malcontent settlers reveal a continuous struggle for justice, recognition, and self-determination. These struggles, rooted in the colonial past, echo in contemporary movements for civil rights and social equity. D. Shaping the American South. Georgia's evolution from a unique social experiment to a quintessential Southern state profoundly influenced the identity of the American South. Its embrace of plantation agriculture, slavery, and a hierarchical social structure contributed to the region's distinctiveness and to the tensions that would ultimately lead to the Civil War. EV. Why Georgia's founding still matters. Georgia's founding is a powerful reminder that history is rarely simple or linear. It is a story of competing visions, human resilience, and the often unintended consequences of grand designs. The lessons from Georgia's beginnings, the fragility of utopian ideals, the power of economic forces, the inevitability of conflict, and the enduring impact of diversity, remain profoundly relevant. By reflecting on Georgia's unique journey, we gain a deeper understanding of the intricate balance between idealism and pragmatism that has always characterized the American experience. We are reminded that the making of America was not a monolithic process, but a dynamic interplay of philanthropy and empire, liberty and bondage, cooperation and conflict. Georgia's story is a testament to the enduring human capacity for both noble aspiration and profound contradiction. It compels us to ask, what ideals do we champion today? What pragmatic compromises are we willing to make? And what legacies will we leave for future generations? The answers to these questions, much like the history of Georgia, will continue to shape the ongoing American story. Features for reader engagement. Primary source excerpts. Throughout the narrative, direct quotes from letters, colonial charters, settlers' diaries, and treaties are woven in to provide authentic voices and first-hand perspectives. For example, the Charter of Georgia, 1732, and the correspondence between Oglethorpe and the trustees offer invaluable insights into the colony, its founding ideals and daily challenges. Biographical spotlights. Sidebars or pop-up boxes feature concise profiles of key figures such as James Oglethorpe, Tomochichi, and Mary Musgrove, humanizing the story and highlighting their diverse experiences and contributions. Maps and period artwork. The text is illustrated with historical maps, such as Emmanuel Bowen's 1748 map and Peter Gordon's 1734 map of Savannah. and period engravings, visually representing the geography, settlements, and cultural encounters of colonial Georgia, mini essays on key debates. Short sidebars explore topics like the myth of the debtors colony, the utopian vision of the trustees, and the complexities of Anglo-Indian diplomacy, encouraging critical thinking and nuanced understanding. Discussion questions. Each major section concludes with thought-provoking questions suitable for classroom or book club discussion, such as, how did the trustees' ideals shape the early years of Georgia, and why did they ultimately fail? In what ways did economic necessity override social and moral ideals in colonial Georgia? How do the experiences of Georgia's diverse settlers inform our understanding of American identity today? Interactive elements. Where feasible, the blog includes embedded links to digital archives, such as the Georgia Archives Virtual Vault and the Digital Library of Georgia, recommended reading lists, and virtual tours of historic sites like Wormslow Historic Site and Fort Frederica, allowing readers to explore the places and documents discussed.